B2B marketing strategies, best practices to win. B2B marketing changed fast, and most teams are still running the old playbook. If your demand gen engine feels less predictable than it did a few years ago, it's not a you problem, it's a buyer behavior problem. B2B buyers now do about 70% of their journey before they ever engage a seller, and 84% say the first vendor they contact ultimately wins the deal. That means your marketing strategy can't start at book a demo. It has to shape the shortlist while buyers are still researching. In practice, the teams winning in 2025 build a single revenue motion that blends digital self-serve with targeted outbound. Marketing creates clarity and confidence early. SDRs add context at the right moment. And sales closes without having to re-educate the buyer from scratch. When those pieces don't connect, you're left competing on price, timing, or luck. At SalesHive, we see the same pattern across industries. Pipeline grows when you stop optimizing for lead volume and start optimizing for qualified conversations. The best strategies aren't complicated, they're disciplined. Tight targeting, consistent messaging, multi-channel execution, and measurement tied to meetings and pipeline, not vanity metrics. The modern buying journey is omnichannel and buyer-led. Today's buyer doesn't move in a straight line, from ad to form fill to discovery call. Decision makers now use roughly 10.2 channels across their journey, which raises the bar for consistency across your website, content, email, phone, social, and retargeting. If your story changes depending on the channel or the team running it, buyers feel the friction immediately. There's also a clear preference shift towards self-serve learning. Gartner reports 61% of B2B buyers prefer a rep-free experience for much of the process, and other research puts that self-service preference as high as 75%. The takeaway isn't sales is dead. It's that marketing must carry more weight earlier, and sales must show up with relevance, not generic interruption. This is where many outbound motions break. Teams rely on a single channel, usually a cold email agency approach, and hope volume does the work. But inboxes are crowded, call blocking is real, and buyers have options. Winning teams orchestrate outbound as a coordinated experience: email, calling, LinkedIn outreach services, and content. So each touch reinforces the same narrative instead of feeling like random noise. Start with a foundation: ICP clarity, committee messaging, and clean data. Most marketing isn't working complaints trace back to one root cause: you're targeting too broadly. A useful ICP is specific enough that your SDR agency, in-house or outsourced, knows exactly who to prioritize and why. Build it from your closed-won history, where you win fastest at the highest ACV with the cleanest handoffs, and make it explicit so marketing, SDRs, and AEs aren't improvising. Next, write messaging for the buying committee, not a single persona. Enterprise deals are group decisions. Economic buyers care about risk and ROI. Functional owners care about workflow and performance. And end users care about day-to-day pain. When you only speak to one role, someone else quietly kills the deal because you never addressed their concerns. Finally, treat data as a growth lever, not a back-office chore. Bad emails and wrong numbers don't just reduce volume, they destroy confidence and waste your best SDR hours. Whether you handle enrichment internally or use list-building services through a partner like SalesHive, the goal is the same: accurate titles, verified contact methods, and consistent fields so segmentation, routing, and personalization work the way they're supposed to. Align marketing and SDRs into one revenue system, not two teams. Sales and marketing alignment isn't a morale initiative, it's a revenue strategy. Organizations with tightly aligned functions see about 32% higher year-over-year revenue growth and roughly 38% higher win rates than misaligned peers. The simplest way to get there is to share one ICP, one set of funnel definitions, and one operating rhythm. The biggest alignment mistake we see is optimizing for lead volume instead of qualified pipeline. When marketing wins by generating more MQLs, SDRs inherit the mess: low intent, wrong personas, or bad data. The fix is to define what an acceptable MQL SAL looks like, agree on scoring signals, and hold both teams accountable to conversions downstream, not just top-of-funnel activity. A practical move is running a 30-day alignment sprint, weekly meetings between marketing, SDR leadership, and sales to lock ICP, messaging pillars, and SLAs, speed to lead, number of touches, and disqualification reasons. Document it as a one-page revenue charter, then route every campaign and sequence through it so your outsourced sales team or in-house pod isn't guessing what good means. When marketing and SDRs tell the same story to the same ICP, every touch feels like momentum. When they don't, every touch feels like spam. Build a multi-channel engine that earns meetings, not just clicks. Because buyers use so many channels, your outbound sales agency motion needs to feel orchestrated. The most reliable cadences blend email, phone, and LinkedIn into a single narrative, typically across 8 to 12 quality touches over 2 to 3 weeks. The point isn't to pester prospects, it's to show up consistently with the same relevant idea at the moment they finally have attention. Email still works, but generic email doesn't. Personalized subject lines can lift opens by 26 to 50%, and the same relevance usually shows up again in better reply rates. That's why the best cold email agency programs aren't copywriting exercises. They're targeting and research systems, supported by clean data and a tight ICP. Calling matters too, especially when it's integrated instead of isolated. A strong cold calling agency play doesn't just smile and dial. It uses the same value props, proof points, and offers as your email and content. When we run cold calling services alongside email and LinkedIn touches, we typically see faster learnings on objections and positioning. Then we feed that insight back into marketing so the whole engine improves. Make content and thought leadership directly usable by SDRs. Content isn't just for inbound, it's fuel for outbound. Research shows 9 in 10 B2B decision makers are more receptive to outreach from companies that consistently publish high-quality thought leadership. That's a direct advantage for SDRs. Instead of, "Can I have 15 minutes?" each touch can deliver an insight, framework, benchmark, or customer story that makes the conversation worth having. This also solves a common mistake: marketing and SDR outreach running on different narratives. When ads and blogs say one thing and the SDR pitch says another, buyers lose trust fast. The fix is simple: shared messaging pillars, shared proof points, and a content menu SDRs can pull from in real time based on persona and objection. Educational content is especially powerful early when buyers are still forming their shortlist. Separate research shows about 71% of buyers are more likely to purchase from vendors that provide educational content during the journey, and many buyers research vendors before ever engaging sales. If you want your B2B sales agency motion to feel helpful instead of interruptive, arm your cold callers and emailers with content that genuinely answers the questions buyers are already asking. Avoid the mistakes that quietly kill pipeline. The first pipeline killer is single-channel dependence. If you rely on email alone, you're betting your quarter on inbox placement and perfect timing, two things you don't control. A better approach is to prove a repeatable multi-channel sequence in one SDR pod first, then scale once you have evidence, reply rate, conversations, meetings that the system works. The second killer is sloppy handoffs with no SLAs or feedback loop. When marketing doesn't know what happens after handoff, it keeps shipping the same low-quality leads, and SDRs stop trusting the source. Define the required follow-up behavior, touch count, time frame, channel mix, then review outcomes weekly so your targeting and creative improve continuously. The third killer is ignoring the buying committee. If you market only to your champion, you can still lose when procurement, finance, IT, or leadership steps in late. Build parallel angles for each role and make sure your sales development agency scripts and sequences anticipate their objections. Risk, integration, security, ROI, and internal change management before they become deal blockers. Optimize what matters, pipeline metrics, not vanity KPIs. To know whether your B2B marketing strategies are actually working, track the conversions that mirror revenue. Lead to MQL, MQL to SQL, SQL to opportunity, and opportunity to close. Pair those with meeting rate by segment, pipeline generated per campaign, and pipeline per rep. If you can't tie spend and effort to SQLs and pipeline, you'll keep winning dashboards while losing quarters. Use benchmarks as a diagnostic tool, not a trophy. If your MQL to SQL rate is stuck near 13%, the answer usually isn't get more leads. It's tighter qualification, better behavioral scoring, and cleaner alignment with SDR follow-up. Top performers that reach 30 to 40% aren't magical. They're disciplined about ICP, intent, and handoff quality. Finally, decide where you'll build versus buy. Many teams choose sales outsourcing to accelerate execution while they refine positioning and product. At SalesHive, we plug into existing systems as a sales development agency, handling list building, cold call services, email, LinkedIn, and appointment setting, so internal teams can stay focused on strategy, demos, and closing while still getting full visibility into performance.